30. Motion to accept the agenda as presented. Councilor Card, all in favor? Carried. Delegation. Drumheller Health Foundation. Janice. Come on. Wherever you'd like to go, girl. You can be one of the cool kids that's in the chair if you prefer. Like to stand, that's good too. You'll start standing?
I'll start standing.
All right.
When I feel weak, I'll sit down.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the board of the Drumheller Area Health Foundation, we'd like to thank you for allowing time for us to present. My name is Janice. I'm the admin manager, and I'm with Sue Schmidt, who's our chair, and Dave Schmidt, who's the director. So this is for the Grow Your Own Nursing Program and Simulation Lab. This is a partnership between Alberta Health Services and the University of Calgary. It allows residents within the 100-kilometer catchment area to receive their Drumheller, to receive their Bachelor in Science in nursing in their rural location area, receiving instruction and classes at the Drumheller Health Center. It requires a simulation lab to be built at the hospital for instruction. Students will mainly study at the hospital using the simulation lab and combining online learning and some in-person labs at the U of C. Course duration can be condensed from traditional 4-year to 3.25 to 3.5, and family barriers and can help reduce financial and family barriers to attending university in urban locations, as most undergraduate programs require. Let's get that one. And that's just the overview of the programs of Wainwright and Drake Valley that are implemented. Go ahead. So what is the simulation program? It requires personnel, space, program evaluation, equipment, curriculum, and faculty development. And that's what it looks like. And this is the proposed simulation space. The DAHF will be financially responsible for the renovation costs of existing conference rooms at the Drumheller Health Center to create the simulation lab. The quote with separate conference space across the hall is estimated at a maximum to be $300,000. The U of C will be responsible for funding the equipment that will be needed for the simulation lab, approximately $60,000 to $80,000. Alberta Health Services will see to the maintenance and replacement of university-funded equipment, and the foundation will not bear any costs related to the purchase and care of this equipment. The benefits, the benefits of the Grow Your Own program are the program is designed specifically for students living in rural Alberta, making this education more plausible to complete for many than traditional university programs. It often utilizes a hybrid approach, combining online learning modules with in-person practical training and clinical placements in local healthcare facilities. The program aims to reduce barriers to accessing nursing education, such as travel and costs, by offering the program in local communities. By training nurses within their own communities, the program increases the likelihood of them staying and working in those areas after graduation. Although terms not finalized yet, the RNs will have to live in the community for a measure of time following completion of the program. The program helps to address the critical shortage of nurses in rural Alberta. By retaining nurses in the rural areas, the program improves access to healthcare services for residents. The program fosters a sense of community and encourages local residents to pursue careers in healthcare.
Janice, do you want questions as we go or just at the end?
Just at the end, if you don't mind.
Okay.
My question answers are over here. Simulation provides a safe space for staff to practice procedures, refine skills, and gain proficiency in a controlled environment, ultimately improving a patient's safety and outcomes. Simulations allow teams to practice their roles, communicate effectively, and coordinate their actions, leading to better patient care and outcomes. By providing a safe environment to practice and learn, simulation labs help staff build confidence in their abilities, reducing anxiety and improving performance in real-life scenarios. Simulations help staff identify and correct potential issues in care process or environment, reducing the risk of errors and improving patient safety. So the powerful community resource of this allows for training and use by other community groups such as the fire department and RCMP, helping facilitate learning and efficiency to other responders. The Foundation and local health centers strongly supports this program as it will benefit current and potential employees and residents of Drumheller and surrounding areas. Creation of the simulation lab is $300,000 due by early 2027, a substantial amount to raise in this time frame. Local, municipal, and corporate donor support will help this program become a reality and positively impact our town and overall quality of healthcare residents receive. Hoping to request each municipality in the 100-kilometer catchment areas for donations or grants of $10,000. Foundation can send status, updates, and communicate results when the project is finalized as well. The Foundation is extremely grateful for the support from the surrounding areas. This program and simulation lab will not only benefit nursing applicants in these areas, but increase the quality of healthcare offerings to all residents as well. Let's get to the end, and that's the question period.
So is this similar to the program they ran in Castor?
No, I don't think so. They've only run this one in Wainwright and Great Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they did run an LPN course of some type in Castor, that's why.
This is an RN.
Yeah, this is
RN,
registered.
okay.
Yeah,
nursing
This
program.
is a different program.
One in Wainwright, nurses from there are going to graduate this year from their first program.
Perfect.
Okay. So then you don't have any data with respect to obviously how many grads in Wainwright
Seven, they had
plan
seven.
to stay or will have to stay because of the requirement?
That I don't know.
Okay.
That we could find that out for you though.
Okay,
I think that there is going to be a stipulation, whether they're from Drumheller, if they're from Drumheller, they're gonna have to stay in the Drumheller hospital and work there for a
Right.
specific period of time. If they come from Hannah, they would stay in the Hannah hospital. If they come
That's the
from Three
requirement.
Hills, they would stay in the Three Hills hospital.
Okay.
So whatever area that they're coming from, that area that they will have to stay in for that specific period of time.
And it might have said this in there, and I'm waking up still. The cohorts, it's at 8 to 9 students. And how many times a year is that going to run?
It'll run the
The
4-year
4-year.
program.
So
Yeah.
only 8 or 9 students will get in and it'll be a
Yeah.
4-year.
So I think the 8 or 9, they've kind of pushed it to 12. But there is dropout, because they did have, I think 11 or so in, but they only had 7 graduate. So they may start with a little bit of a higher number, but they'll run that program for 4 years. And then they'll take a 1-year hiatus, and then they'll start over again.
Oh, okay, so it won't be like an intake every year. You guys are gonna try it for 4 years with
Yeah.
potentially 12
We can't really
students?
do an intake for 4 years.
Right.
We just don't have the extra
makes
space and
sense.
stuff like that.
Okay, good to know, thank you.
Even if your numbers were down for, say, let's say you had 5 people come out there, and then, you know, the next year you had 3 or 4 more, would you just run the 5 all the way through it? Or would you open it up, like, kind of like you said, cause like I'm an apprenticeship guy, like, you know, first year, second year, third year, they're constantly taking in, you know, people with various things. So you're taking a group, running them through from start to finish, the whole group with no other, people coming into it
Correct.
at all, okay?
And like if there was LPNs that wanting to update,
Mhm.
that first year, they, depending on what courses they have, they may skip that first year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So because there's lots of moms or lots of people that
Yeah.
sometimes they want to upgrade to, if they just don't have that opportunity to do so.
So you're saying this is an avenue where an LPN could actually upgrade to become an RN?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's it cost?
Same with the university.
It's a University of Calgary program.
So they'll pay the tuition?
Yeah.
They're-
So they'll pay the rate.
Yeah, the regular tuition. The only thing different is, the marks to get in may be a little less. Like if they don't have to hit that 95%.
Threshold?
Yeah. I think they said, like when we have 28 applications so far, it's based on their cover letter more than grades as much.
And who will decide what 8, 10, 12 you're taking?
The University of Calgary.
Okay.
Yeah. And we are not allowing any students in urban areas. So if they don't make the grade in Calgary, they cannot come to our program.
Okay.
Yeah, rural is the
Okay.
only place that they can come from, yeah.
If I may, I don't have a question, but I certainly have a subjective comment. As a mother of a graduated nurse and the absolutely incredible cost of sending our kids from rural Alberta to a university in an urban area is really prohibitive for a lot of kids. And this kind of program, in my personal view, is really exciting for our kids in Hannah. And having worked with kids over the years, certainly I could probably suggest that this would be a really exciting option for them. And certainly would not create the financial burden.
Right,
That was the whole idea of the 100 to 120 kilometer catchment rate. They can just about
they can drive,
drive back.
Yeah, yeah.
And stay at home.
and then they can still work at home too, like they're an LPN and they can still get certain hours.
Yeah.
That's great.
Counselor Crowe, I could see you.
Yeah, I was gonna just ask, what's the course entail? Like, is it like how many hours or whatever?
That's set up by the University of Calgary. It would be exactly as your registered nurse program.
So they get their undergraduate degree
Yes, absolutely.
in nursing, and then they could practice being an RN.
Yes,
So they get the full undergraduate program.
and because if they, especially if an LPN has applied, that 3.25 years would probably really equate to them. Because if they can carry those courses from LPN to this program. Like they may not have all the courses that they need, and they may have to take maybe one that first year, but they can carry that program. So that there definitely will be shortened.
Do you have any municipalities on board that have donated, or can you share that
Yeah,
information?
we have actually quite a few, we did get
Stellar, we can Stellar, Three Hills,
Wheatland County,
Wheatland County, Rico County.
Three Hills.
Around.
We did
Special
special
areas.
areas, yeah, and they've supported us. And found a propeller. Everything's pretty much in the 100-kilometer range, except for, like bicycle, because they're not that far from Calgary, so.
Right, yeah.
That would be the only one that wouldn't really apply, kind of up towards that area.
So the program has a catchment area?
Yes.
Okay.
The whole idea behind it is to keep our kids in the country and not go to the cities and, be able to be close to family, to, not have the stress of moving to the city and the university and just take the pressure off so we get more nurses will come out after they stay in the real
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So we've had in the past, several nurses, interested in coming to Hannah. And then for whatever reason, AHS intervenes and directs them where they need them. Do we have any control over that?
So hopefully it's, we've got 29 applicants already to our area, so it's that house, isn't it? There's interest, but
I think the only Alberta Health Services where they would get involved is the building. Like they're supplying the building for us, we're renovating the room, and the University of Calgary is giving us all the equipment. So if the equipment tends to wear out, then Alberta Health Services will pitch in and either fix it or replace it.
And the on-site training in the stimulation lab will likely be carried out by existing staff at the Drumheller facility, I presume.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're gonna have some instructors definitely from our.
And are the local doctors in Drumheller on board as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not, the simulation lab, it's not going to be used 24/7 by the nurses, right?
Right,
So the simulation lab can be used by EMS. It can be used by fire departments, police departments. The doctors can use it. Say the doctors had a case that didn't go well, they can go into that simulation lab and go over what went wrong.
so would the Hannah Fire Department be able to use it?
Yeah,
anywhere in the catchment area.
and there won't be, there's no charge to use it, as far as I know.
Just gotta go.
You just have to go through. So it's kind of a win-win situation for all first responders.
Exciting.
Yes,
It's very
very,
exciting.
Finding some, ray of hope coming up. isn't it?
yeah,
A little bit, isn't it?
yeah. As a mom of a Nor Ann, I
Right?
wish this had been here many moons ago.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of these kids,
Great for
they
the
paid
local
for
here.
years.
Yeah.
That's great.
So I guess,
Locals.
kind of the urgency right now is it's closing, March 31st. Like the applications for this program will close on March 31st. So if you know of anybody, tell them they just go on the University of Calgary website.
Okay.
Get your application in.
But right now you said you have 29,
28.
28,
Yeah.
sorry. That's amazing.
Yeah, super exciting. Unfortunately, we're just in an information session, so we can't make a commitment today.
absolutely.
We have a
Yeah,
council
I understand
meeting
that.
on the
Yeah.
8th of February, so we super cool. Great.
Thank you for being here and, we're just so excited as well.
Yeah,
All turns out great.
it's interesting, the sad part of it is you have 28 for 12 spots already.
Yes.
That shows.
Yeah.
That's really good.
That might be
Great. Nice to see you.
Thank you, you too.
Been a long
Bye-bye,
time.
Dave.
Take care.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
guys. Thank
Thanks a
you,
lot.
you betcha. Next up, we've got,
Oh,
Devin
man, haven't seen that guy in years.
and Palliser.
Where would you like us, on the front or?
Wherever you wanna go, buddy. You wanna do the side, you can do the front, you can,
Sure, maybe one.
Michelle, come sit down by me, there's a room there.
we got room. We might be a little longer, so maybe sit.
We were warned.
Yeah.
Wanting to control it too, Kevin?
Maybe it'll be easier, then I can kind of flip back and forth.
Okay. Well, we can try.
If not, that's fine. Done it both ways, so.
I don't know if I'm set up here with enough ports. And there's the remote by. Again, short report and I haven't checked it out.
Yeah, that's all right.
I wasn't aware of a presentation, so if you want to do that and sit here, you can.
If you want to flip slides, that's what.
Oh, okay, whatever you want.
So I'll leave that hand up.
Just because it's so expensive.
It is. I know that is.
The tuition is not
Yes,
that.
too. She's thinking on her.
That didn't work out. I'll just try running it off the stick and hope there's not a whole bunch of graphics.
It's the living stuff. That's just.
If I run it as a traditional presentation, your PowerPoint is bigger than the screen. And it'll cut it off. I can show you. Yeah, so, it's best to just keep it like this and then I'll try to follow along.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah, I can. I don't have to.
You guys sit together.
Sounds good.
You don't wanna sit between Michelle and Jeffrey a little bit?
Feels like she's in the middle of something.
Rearrange.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize.
The LPN sent a couple, but most of the LPN.
As big as possible.
Yeah, that whole thing is so interesting, like the sad part is, like I said, they got 28 for 12 positions already and. Okay, guys, you haven't ready to rock?
Ready when you guys are.
We are.
Well, thanks for having us out this morning. We've been going around for, in the new year, wanting to reach out to all new councils, particularly, with the elections this year. This presentation is geared a little bit more towards our new counselors as an orientation. But it's also a great refresher for existing or previous counselors. For those that don't know me, my name is Devin Diano. I'm the CEO of Palliser. I've been with the organization for about 8 years now. I'm in the CEO role for about 6. And then we have Elliot Hall, our GIS coordinator. For the presentation today, really the meat and potatoes is the Planning 101 section. The background in Palliser Services, just for the sake of everyone's time, I'll go through a little bit quicker. If you guys have questions on how core services and that works, I'm happy to answer them, or Matthew's familiar as well. So I won't spend too much time, but we'll touch on it. So, And then we'll end with talking about some of the recent and upcoming projects, and then Elliot's going to talk about the Palliser Web Map and GIS. So for the new councillors who may not be familiar with Palliser, Palliser was formed back in 1995 when the province disbanded regional planning commissions. Palliser actually existed prior to that, dating back to the mid-80s, I believe, as a regional planning commission. And then in 1995, the province repealed what was called the Planning Act at the time, and that was replaced by the Municipal Government Act. And the Planning Act allowed the formation of regional commissions. So after that, Palliser was kind of rebranded as a municipal agency. And then from there in 2007, we were incorporated as a non-for-profit corporation. Today, we provide planning, GIS, and safety code services across 24 member municipalities. And Palliser operates on a user pay principle. So our sources of revenue include our municipal shareholder requisitions, safety code permit revenue, planning and subdivision application fees, and then general consulting fees for special projects. We currently have eight full-time positions. Myself, Carrie Bott, our office manager, Gary Wilson, our subdivision planner, Tracy Watanko, our senior planner, Zachary Forrest, our planner one, and then Linda Taylor, our safety code administrator, who I'm sure anyone who's taken out a permit has probably spoken with her in the last 10 plus years. Elliot Hall, GIS coordinator, and then Delane Bankhead, our safety codes and subdivision. Picture is cut off there, but it was a very nice picture. So I did quickly want to touch on our 2022 Palliser Regional Service Enhancement Project. So this was a really large project that we took on with some ACP grant funding, and we worked with a third-party consultant as well. And we really tried to look at the whole organization as a whole and tear it down to the bottom and reorganize from the bottom up. So the focus of that project was to ensure that the core services that we're providing still align with our member priorities. So what does the membership need help with, and how can we ensure we're meeting those needs? We looked at the function of the organization. So is it functioning effectively? What's our structure, our staffing, our processes, and our oversights? We looked at our funding. Is the organization financially sustainable? How does the funding formula work, and how do we split the pie across all 24 municipalities? What's the cost versus alternative options for members? So if members were going to try to either whether it's handling those services on their own or go to the market, private market to get those services, is there still value in having Palliser, or is it better for members to look at other options? And it was an overwhelming, much more efficient and cost effective for Palliser to continue to exist. And we talked about potential funding sources as well. The outcomes of that was our new strategic plan. We refined our core services. We had a new organization structure and associated budget, and then the new acquisition model. So what are the services provided? Again, we have our strategic plan on our website, and within there's a core service section that goes into a lot of detail. But generally, the creation and review of statutory planning documents, such as the municipal development plan, creation and review of land use bylaws. We process statutory plan amendments and land use bylaw amendments and rezonings as required. So we'll come out to your council meetings for those. We'll provide the staff report, draft the bylaw, ensure the notification's done in accordance with MGA. We assist with periodic assistance to ensure bylaws reflect legislative changes. So with the Municipal Government Act updates, at times that means we have 24 bylaws to update across 24 municipalities. And then every municipality gets one major project every 3 years, and for the smaller villages at the low requisition rate, it's every 5 years.
So with the land use bylaws, we just went through one 3 years ago. Being that it was such a challenge, is it recommended to do, like that last one was 12 years, if I'm not mistaken? Was it to our benefit to do them on a more regular basis, or I realize it's a live living document that can.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to say. It really depends on what trends are changing over time. I mean, over the past 10 years, we've seen the Municipal Government Act amended more times than it was probably ever in history for the time prior to it. Whether it was changes to how development permits are issued, appeal timelines, requirements for statutory plans, and other planning documents for municipalities. So I think we saw a lot of change, and hopefully that stabilizes a bit. For a document like the land use bylaw or even the municipal development plan, it should have at least a 10, potentially even 20-year lifespan on it. And that depends if we're keeping up with housekeeping changes as well, and adapting it as we need over time.
Yeah, like I said, it seemed like it was a very overwhelming process.
Yeah.
And we did it actually at a poor time
I
after
think
the
it was just
Thornhill County
Yeah, it
thing.
was
And
the timing, it kind of got caught up in some of that made it maybe a little more difficult than it typically would.
cool, thanks.
Over the past few years, one of the things we've really been focusing on is the support training and resources for municipal staff. So trying to build that internal capacity, and especially on the development side. So we've been providing a lot of assistance to development officers in processing permit applications. So we're available for daily support and questions, yearly training sessions, which Tracy has been doing a lot of. So whether that's specific development officer training where we go through our procedures manual, training on enforcement, encroachments, compliance letters, all of those types of things. So we have a wide variety of manuals, guides, templates that can support your development officer and municipal planning commission. This year's Tracy's big ticket item is municipal planning commission training with new councils. We have new MPC members. So if your MPC is interested in a training, she is definitely available to do that. It takes about 3 to 4 hours, so definitely have to book some time, but it's worth it. And then overall, we're available to provide advice and guidance to staff, council, and residents on planning and development related applications. Subdivisions, so Palliser processes subdivision applications on behalf of all Palliser municipalities. So we're delegated subdivision authority powers for all urban municipalities. And we provide subdivision advice and guidance to applicants, and available to review and assist with subdivision applications that might be proposed by your municipality or the town. Safety codes administration, so we provide the administration, processing, and issuance of all permits across the Palliser region. Palliser is actually the only regional planning agency that provides safety code services to the shareholders. We're accredited in building, electrical, gas, plumbing, and private sewage. And right now we have our safety codes inspections contract. It's with Park Enterprises. So they're the inspectors, SCOs, that complete the inspections on permits. And we're currently in a 3-year contract that goes till April 2027. And then the Intermunicipal Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, we'll talk about the Subdivision Development Appeal Board in a bit more detail further down. But Palliser organizes, coordinates, and administers the regional board. And that board creates a pool of trained SDAB members and clerks across the region for municipalities to draw from in the case of a subdivision and development appeal. So previously, each municipality was trying to maintain their own trained members and clerks, which can be quite onerous. The training expires every 3 years, and you have to have two members at large minimum sit on an appeal. So municipalities were struggling with that, so we came together as a region, and we're pooling members and clerks together. So in the case of a permit appeal, subdivision, or development, we coordinate and create the appeal board for you guys. Which gets us to our planning 101 section. So what is the planning system in Alberta and how does it work? So the planning system in Alberta is created and functions based off of hierarchy. So at the top, you're gonna have your provincial legislation or higher level federal legislation, but mostly we're dealing with our provincial legislation, the Municipal Government Act in particular. Then we have others that are like the Water Act and whatnot that are relevant as well. But the Municipal Government Act is really the big document that informs a lot of our decision making and plans. Can you guys see that okay from this?
I'm always worried about that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm good.
As we all go
You
forward.
said perfect. Can you see that okay, or?
Well, I can listen to it.
Okay, so that's a no, she can't see it, but she doesn't care.
When we do a presentation, is it better to bring it on a PDF as a slide? Like, does that allow it to go full screen, or is it the PowerPoint it's kind of the same either way?
Well, if we have it in a PDF, we could actually download it onto
Oh,
our
I see.
personal computers and
Yeah,
then
and then we
follow it
can,
as we're going along.
Oh,
So,
I see.
oh, good, buddy.
So the, underneath our provincial legislation, we have the Alberta Land Stewardship Act regional plans. We're not gonna talk about those in great detail because there's not one in place for the region and it's not looking like there will be anytime soon. I think they started that endeavor, it's probably 2011 or something like that. And I think there's only been 2 done across the entire province. So I'm not even sure if there's an intent to go forward with those. Following that, there's intermunicipal development plans, which is the shared boundary between yourself and your neighboring municipality. There's not currently an IDP in place with the town and special areas. The next on the list is the municipal development plan, which is probably the most relevant for statutory plans that we'll talk about today. So that's your inward-looking community vision statutory plan, and that really lays out the policies about how you want to see the community grow over time. Next, we have area structure plans and area redevelopment plans. We're going to talk more about area structure plans. They're much more common. It's the site-specific planning that really informs subdivision in particular. And area redevelopment plans are similar, but they're focusing on an area that's an older part and is starting to redevelop over time and creating some regulations around that. And then those statutory plans all filter down into your land use bylaw, which then filters into our decisions on subdivisions, development permit approval, or even a land use designation or rezone. So statutory plans are legally binding documents or laws within the municipality. So they're adopted by municipal bylaw and approved by your council. All statutory plans adopted by a municipality must be consistent with each other and provincial legislation. In the way that hierarchy works, if you have a policy like another document, the one higher on the hierarchy, that policy will always prevail. So If you guys had an IDP and there's a policy that conflicted with your MDP, whatever's in the IDP would be the prevailing policy. The Municipal Government Act legislates what must or may be considered in each of these documents. So on the right, I have a screenshot from the Municipal Government Act, section 632. And that indicates every council of a municipality must, by bylaw, adopt a municipal development plan. And then down at subsection 3, there's a short list of what it must include. That list is actually much longer, and then it's also followed by a big list of mays, but for the purpose of just showing what it looks like. So for example, it must address the future land use within the municipality, the manner of and proposals for future developments, and the coordination of land use, future growth patterns, and other infrastructure with adjacent municipalities if there's no intermunicipal development plan in place. So what is in statutory plans and how do they all fit together? So the municipal development plan, again, is the community's long-term vision. It looks at what do we want our community to look like over time. It sets the broad goals and policy direction for growth, land use, and transportation services, and then establishes future land uses for areas of the municipality. And again, is mandatory for all municipalities. An area structure plan translates MDP policies to a specific location. So it identifies specific land use types. It gets into more of the general layout, densities, roads, servicing, and phasing of developments. And then ASP is not always mandatory and maybe not always necessary. We'll talk about that. So here's an example of one of our newer MDPs from the Village of Linden. I thought this would be a good relevant one to show you guys because these will be part of the discussions that you guys are going to have around your new MDP as well. So one of the things the Village of Linden did was outline their priority growth areas versus their long-term growth areas. So where does it make the most sense to really focus on growth? And that's usually determined based on the logical extension of existing development, which is kind of the obvious one, but also the logical extension of infrastructure, which is kind of the key piece. And they utilize their infrastructure master plan to really understand where do we have capacity for growth, what is the condition, where upgrades going to be required, and what do those upgrades look like. So how cost effective actually to develop in certain areas, and where should we start to prioritize our even municipal investments in infrastructure to be able to accommodate growth the most effectively and efficiently. So some of those example policies, this is a wordy slide, I'll try not to read through it all, but new development will be directed to priority growth areas, as generally shown on the map. Development within long-term growth areas should occur after the development of priority growth areas. The village may consider earlier development of long-term growth areas where the development provides or expands the provision of required housing forms, commercial services, or other economic developments. Infrastructure such as roads and utilities are readily available to service the development.
I have no idea what's happening.
That's great.
It has been dropping, which affects Zoom, which affects YouTube, which
Gotcha.
affects, yeah.
And then where does adequate capacity exist in existing municipal infrastructure, or upgrades to existing systems can be readily accommodated. So really, again, the goal is understanding how our infrastructure, or the capacity, condition, and availability of infrastructure, and that is really the biggest impact on growth, and how do we need to take that into consideration with decisions. And then prior to a land use amendment or subdivision in a future growth area, the village council may require an area structure plan or conceptual scheme to be prepared and approved. So that area I have circled in the top northwest corner. That's an area where council essentially used this policy and required an area structure plan, and we're going to talk about that in detail.
So do they sit down with your fire department, your RCMP, figure out if it's logical, you know, if you want to build certain things, you know, because fire department might not be able to get access, water, sewer.
You bet. That's all part of engineering standards. So the Village of Linden has actually, they recently adopted, most municipalities go off the City of Calgary engineering standards, and I'm not sure for the town of Hannah which engineering standards you guys follow in particular. But the Village of Linden took those standards and then made actually kind of a tapered down version that fits a rural context a little bit better. So that actually might be something the town of Hannah is interested in seeing. I know the Village of Linden has offered to share that with other municipalities as well. But that's going to break down your turning radius, your road design, how many units can you have in an area before you need a secondary access for a fire truck to get in, that kind of information. So. An MDP will also outline your future land use. So again, this is pretty level block zoning, you could say. It's not real zoning, but it shows what the future intent for the area is. And we try not to write that too prescriptive, like thou shalt be residential in this whole entire area. Obviously, there's some components of other uses that might make sense in there. But generally, this is the way we want our community to develop over time, and this is the logical way that it would develop. So when an application for a rezoning comes into council, these are the types of things you're considering. What does our future land use show? What does our MDP policy talk about in terms of growth in this area? So this gets us to the example of an area structure plan, and this is the Linden Northwest Area ASP, which is currently in a draft state. But that's the location that we looked at on the previous maps. And in this specific location, we had an instance where we had multiple landowners all interested in development at the same time and all interested in subdivision, but no real coordination between how the area was going to subdivide out as a whole. And they were looking to do those single lot subdivisions a little bit here and a little bit there, which can become really challenging to ensure the area develops efficiently. So the MDP provided the high level policy support for the creation of an area structure plan. And that area structure plan provided site-specific planning for future development. So what is the general lot layout and the land use districts we're looking at? What are the policies and strategies for servicing and infrastructure? And then how are we phasing development over time? So the ASP coordinated, again, how the whole area would be serviced as a whole. Stormwater management is an excellent example of that, because how you manage your stormwater is not necessarily one parcel at a time, it's over a larger catchment area. So that area structure plan essentially was able to look at the whole area as a whole and then design accordingly. So in this instance, a storm pond was actually needed, which is something you want to know before you're subdivided through the whole area.
Let's see, the guy with the lot with the storm pond on probably not gonna be very happy.
No, that's one of the current discussions. So,
Yeah.
Excuse. So the key piece is that it allows those single lot subdivisions to begin within an overall framework. And then it ensures the area will be developed and serviced efficiently and effectively over time. When is an area structure plan necessary? So we want to utilize your MDP to provide the guidance on when an area structure plan is necessary for developers. Some of those example considerations: is it a large scale or multi-parcel development? Is it a large area of vacant land? is multiple lots, phases, landowners, and required coordinated planning and servicing. How much new or significant municipal infrastructure is required? Is there gonna be major road construction, water, wastewater, storm, and other services that need to be planned comprehensively? An ASP is not always necessary, especially like an area structure plan will typically deal with a quarter section of land or bigger. For some of the smaller areas, at times, something like conceptual design will work, where they have a engineered design that doesn't have to include a whole ASP planning policy and whatnot. It's always gonna be site specific. How many landowners do you have involved, and what does the subdivision look like? Is there any question on statutory plans so far?
So with hypothetically speaking, could the town or village of Linden annex that land?
They could, it wouldn't necessarily be an annex, it'd be a purchase, like it's already within the
Okay.
village of Linden. But if they wanted to, they could purchase that land and go into the development role, essentially develop it themselves.
Okay. No, like I just, well, I'm thinking in my head, if you've got, like I said, multiple single lot subdivisions and nobody wants to play nice in the sandbox, then
Yes, for sure, and yeah, that has been a topic of discussion, for sure. So what comes next after your statutory plans? Well, all those documents filter down and guide the rules and regulations within your land use bylaw. So that land use bylaws can apply our specific zoning and regulations for development on parcels within the community. And what is your land use bylaw? So the purpose of your land use bylaw is to regulate and control the use and development of land and buildings within the municipality. It's going to include your parcel specific rules and regulations. So what are the lot sizes, our setbacks, our building types? A land use bylaw is non-statutory, and that's the key difference. So certain standards can be varied, such as building heights or setbacks, up to a certain percentage or extent, which is also spelled out in your land use bylaw. What percentage of a variance do we allow, and who makes the decision on that? It includes a higher level of detail than your statutory plans and is the tool used for implementing the objectives and policies of other planning documents. So the way I always describe it is your NDP and ASPs are essentially a blueprint for how your community is going to develop, and the land use bylaw is like your toolbox of how you're actually going to implement that on the ground. And it's the main document to set specific details. So the components of the land use bylaw, at the start, it's a lot of administration section, and it establishes the method of making decisions on development permit applications. So who are the authorities? What type of permits do they make decisions on? What are the timeframes for making those decisions? Who is notified and how are they notified of permits? It divides the municipality into districts, so residential, commercial, industrial, and then prescribes the appropriate permitted and discretionary uses for each district, which we'll talk about more shortly. It creates development standards to meet objectives of planning documents and prevent land use conflicts, which again is your setbacks, building heights, those types of items. And then it includes your specific and general land use regulations. So specific regulations for home occupations across the town, or parking, which generally could apply to any development within the town. So what are the difference between a permitted and discretionary use? Is council relatively familiar with permitted versus discretionary uses, or is that?
just cover quick, yeah.
Okay. So permitted use refers to those that will be allowed if all development standards are met. So the development officer cannot refuse to issue a permit for permitted use when there are no relaxations or variances and all development standards are met. It's considered to be uses the community is most comfortable with for an area, and an applicant or landowner can rely on being allowed a permitted use. And the MGA actually requires us to ensure that every district has permitted uses available, that there's some level of development that as a landowner, you know that as long as what you're proposing meets the setbacks and regulations, you're guaranteed that permit's gonna be approved. Discretionary uses are uses that may be allowed, but only if the development authority is satisfied and complies with the land use bylaw and is appropriate for the site and surrounding areas. So discretionary use requires judgment and evaluation, not automatic approval. It's reviewed for compatibility, impacts, and conditions, and may be approved with conditions or refused. And that's typically subject to notification process and appeal as well. And it would be your municipal planning commission that makes decisions on discretionary uses. For that reason, that's discretionary uses aren't going to your development officer for one person as an individual to make that decision. The idea is that it's more of a community input decision at a higher level.
An example would be where I put my propane dispensary on my commercial lot, highway commercial. And so it became a discretionary use. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in some site circumstances, it's appropriate, and then maybe in a different location in town, you've got a residence next to you, and maybe that's not the best location, for example, or something like that, so.
You.
Well, and to me, again, back to lack of knowledge, to me, it just made sense, right? I'll put it there. Then, no, that's a discretionary use. What the hell you mean? So,
Yeah.
but it was a good experience.
So overall, administration and Palliser make subdivision and development permit decisions by applying all those higher level policies that are approved by council and the province. So we filter through provincial legislation, your statutory planning documents, and then the land use bylaw regulations, which gets us to our subdivision application approvals and development permit approvals. So where does council's role fit into all this? What's council's role and responsibilities in planning and development? And really that first point is kind of the key role of council, and that's setting the policy direction through statutory planning documents and the land use bylaw. So council sets the policy direction, administration and Palliser makes decisions and functions within that policy. Council approves new statutory plans and land use bylaws and any amendments to them, such as a rezoning application. Council ensures planning policy reflects the community's goals, values, and long-term vision, and uses statutory plans as the primary guide when considering development-related decision. If an existing policy no longer reflects council's direction, let's change that policy as well. So it's good timing to be doing an MDP with a new council coming in as well. And especially one that's dating back to 2013. I'm sure as we go through that, we'll see policies that we maybe don't necessarily support anymore. Or if it impacted an application, maybe there'd be a different perspective than there was back then. So it's good timing to be reviewing those. And then council delegates subdivision and development authority to Palliser and administration. How do Palliser's roles and responsibilities fit in? So we lead council and administration through the creation, review, and adoption of planning documents. We manage public engagement, including workshops and open houses, which we'll talk a bit about. We draft planning bylaws and policy to ensure it meets legislative requirements, best practices, and council and the community's direction. And we act as the subdivision authority for member municipalities and provide the professional planning analysis and recommendations to council and administration. Municipal administration and your development officer. So your development officer, again, acts as the development authority for the municipality. They'll review and approve the development permits under the land use bylaw. They apply council-approved policies to implement day-to-day development decisions. They provide technical input and comments on planning and subdivision applications. So we'll circulate subdivisions, for example, to your administration. So whether maybe we need input from Matthew, Dave, or even engineering inputs, we'll look to the town for input at times as well. And then administration works with PALSR to coordinate planning, enforcement, and policy implementation. So overall, council leads through policy, administration and PALSR implements policy through consistent decisions. Touching on a few of the other decision makers, I think we talked about MPC a little bit, but they, again, decide on your discretionary use applications and development permits requiring variances were delegated. But MPC can also provide planning advice or recommendations to council. Some MPC or councils use their MPC as a sounding board for planning and development discussions. Then again, the Intermunicipal Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, which is an independent body established under provincial legislation, and they're going to hear and decide on appeals to subdivisions, development permits, and stop orders. A decision made by the SDAB is final, so from there, it's only subject to appeal to the courts on a question of law or jurisdiction. So if there is an error in process, for example, that's when you get elevated to the Court of Appeal, which we want to avoid. So that's part of some of our training on development permit issuance is really understanding and ensuring we're following that correct process with issuing permits, because that's where you can end up at the Court of Appeal, which is a non-fun place to be, and it's rather expensive. Adopting planning bylaws. So planning bylaws and amendments require 3 readings from council. A public hearing must be held after the first reading and before giving a bylaw second reading. So this is the formal opportunity for public input. Council may propose amendments to the bylaw by motion during that process. So amendments can be introduced during any of the 3 readings. So say whether it's second or third reading, there's been a topic, issue, concern brought forward at the public hearing. Any councillor can put forward a motion to make a change to that draft document, and then that's voted on by council. And if passed, that change is done in the documents and then moves forward. The key thing to remember with that is that making amendments to planning documents is not always necessarily straightforward through motion. So you could make a motion to change one item, but it could impact other areas of the bylaw. Or that motion needs to be worded really specifically to make sure the change is done precisely. In a land use bylaw, the wording is key and the devil is in the details. It's the same with land use bylaws. So if council's proposing a motion or wants to propose a motion as a result of the public hearing, at times we'll recommend even reaching out to us or your administration before that council meeting and getting a little bit of help on just how to craft that motion. So so you know that how you're proposing it is going to accomplish what you want it to accomplish. And another key item is significant changes may require additional notice or a new public hearing altogether. So If you've held the public hearing already, you're in second or third reading and you're proposing a motion that's gonna have a major impact on the bylaw or is really changing the context of that bylaw, we might have to go back to the public hearing stage. That public hearing was originally advertised and notified to the public for the context that it was in prior to that amendment. So if that amendment's gonna be a major change, we might have to go back through the public hearing process. Final adoption, of course, occurs through following third reading. And administration and council should refer to your council procedural bylaws and your public participation policies for any additional municipal specific requirements. So we've been pointing that out as well as we're doing these presentations. You'll have your own council procedural bylaws, and some of them get a little detailed into the public hearing. And some of them, I'm not sure the current state of your guys's or when it was looked at last, but it's good to know what those say and ensure that it's still in compliance with MGA as well. Public hearings. So public hearings are really the opportunity for residents to speak in support or against a bylaw or neutral as well. So what is council's role and responsibilities at the public hearing? Well, the obvious one is to listen to the residents. But a key item is that it's not a platform for discussion or debate. So at that part of the process, we've typically been through public engagement already. We've had that process where it's the Q&A and discussion area. The public hearing is really the opportunity for residents to articulate, do we support, do we not support? Is there certain parts we support or don't support? And it's not about the back and forth piece at that stage. So council should be actively taking notes during the public hearing. You should be writing down any proposed changes to the bylaw that you may want to bring forward at second or third reading. And that's key. At that stage, it's been through administration, it's been through engagement sessions. It's being brought forward as a draft, as best recommended from your administration. And if there's changes from there that you want to make as a result of what you've heard from your residents, that's council's role at that stage. So as Palisade administration, we try not to bring any amendments forward once it hits the council process, unless we find something like at times maybe a resident will point out in a public hearing a clerical error or something like that. We'll maybe bring forward a motion in our staff reports. But really those extensive changes or larger changes, we're looking to the council to give us direction on whether you're making those or not. Council can ask questions of speakers and administration and must keep an open mind, be free from bias, and stay focused on the land use issue at hand. And the chair must ensure procedural fairness through that process. So administration or Palisade are really there in the supportive role for a public hearing and council process. We can provide an overview of the proposed bylaw at a public hearing. We'll provide clarification on the process and can answer clarifying questions as directed to us by council. And for public hearings, we have put a lot of resources together for council. So we have detailed chair scripts that help you work through the hearing. Council and resident guides for public hearings, which are shown on the screen there as brochures, so you can have that at the office before a public hearing. We have agendas, templates, a lot of resources for those available. Public open houses and the purpose and council's role. So I think this is probably a timely discussion with the municipal development plan coming up, and there's going to be some workshops and open houses included with that. And just off the tail end of the land use bylaw and some of the open houses that we had for that, which were rather busy. So Palisade hosts public open houses during the drafting of new statutory planning documents. Open houses are meant to be an informal, non-decision-making engagement opportunities. So we separate that from the formal public hearing process. It's designed to gather early public inputs, and that's where that Q&A portion occurs. So as an outcome of that, we're always gonna summarize what we heard and create a what we heard report, and that's provided to council. And that's how council support informed decision making. Open houses are run and attended by Palliser and municipal administration. So one item on open houses that we've been talking with councils about is that councillors are actually encouraged not to attend a public open house. There's a few reasons for that, but really a key one is that council needs to be speaking, discussing, and debating as a whole. And at open houses, a lot of the times that can end up into individual discussion.
No Corey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a key part is you're wanting to make sure you're maintaining procedural fairness, you're avoiding perceptions of prejudgment, and that's the key piece. Is not creating a bias when you're in a conversation, making it seem like you're gonna support something that maybe hasn't gone through that process fully yet. So with that being said, we know at times councillors feel that, this is our municipality, these are our residents, and I want to be in attendance for this open house. That is okay if that's how you wish, if you wish to come. What our recommendation is that you're keeping conversations very general and non-committal. You're avoiding expressing opinions or indicating support one way or the other. And you're directing residents and staff to the formal residents to staff and formal feedback channels. So if a resident has a question and you're at an open house that's maybe policy or land use bylaw regulations that you're not necessarily comfortable with or fully understand, we're always recommending you're trying to direct those to staff and administration. So we're trying to maintain separation between engagement and decision-making, and that helps reduce risk of appeal, protects council's ability to make fair and defensible decisions at the public hearing. And I think it really ensures that council is functioning as a whole, not as individuals. So I will end off my parts with what I put together as the do's and don'ts, council's do's and don'ts of planning and development. So do act as a council as a whole, not act or speak as an individual decision maker. We do want to rely on our approved policy and not substitute a personal opinion for policy. We do want to direct developers and applicants to administration and Palliser and not negotiate or discuss proposals privately. We want to ask and debate at public council meetings, not discuss application merits outside of the public process. We want to keep an open mind until all information is presented and not prejudge or imply an outcome. We want to declare conflicts of interest and not participate when a conflict exists. This is the key one, but we want to change policy through formal amendments if direction has changed, not bend the rules to fit a specific proposal. And we want to maintain professional and neutral communication and not give impressions of support or approval. Overall, good governance means fair process, clear policy, and decisions made in the public. And just to quickly end off with our recent upcoming projects, so I think council's aware of all this already, but the most recent was the Town of Hannah Land Use Bylaw, which was adopted November 2023. And then this year will be the 2026 Town of Hannah Municipal Development Plan project, and the current NDP was adopted in 2013. So we're ready for a rewrite submission. Is there any questions before I let Elliot jump into the GIS portion? Was council pretty familiar with that information? Was there anything new for you guys, or did that?
Some of it's new. If you can get that to us, it would be
Yeah.
very helpful to have that so I can take a look at it as well too.
Yep, you bet. The file's actually too big to send through email, so maybe if you guys wanna download it from the USB at some point. Elliot, you ready?
Now swap these spots.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, I'm using chairs.
I was gonna say, we attach that chair. I like this one, I gotta go.
It's the comfy one.
Okay, so now for the good part of the presentation.
No.
Municipal GIS, this is kind of intended as a introduction to what GIS is and potentially a refresher for some people too. Okay, so what is GIS? Generally, it stands for Geographic Information Systems. And what this does is basically taking static layers, static maps that you might have around the office and combining them all into one space where they can kind of be used to help manage, visualize and understand information based on location. It's combining maps with data. So anything such as land, roads, utilities, addresses, assets and planning data, combining those all into one spot. It turns that data into visual and easy to understand information, which can then be used to support better planning, service delivery and decision making as well. So in simpler terms, GIS kind of answers the question of where and helps explain why the location of that matters. So as part of the membership to Palliser, members do get a web map. And then what is the web map? So it is a centralized interactive mapping platform. It's web-based, so you don't have to install any additional software to get access to it. And it can be accessed anywhere from a browser. It can be, well, it's primarily accessible to staff members, but it can be made accessible to council and the public as well, where appropriate. And then based on different accounts and who's going to be seeing it, we can change kind of the levels of access people have. So the public will have much different access than what the municipal staff would have. So so what this web map does, it kind of replaces these static maps with live up-to-date information. The web map is a central hub. So within the web map, you find a wide variety of information available, such as aerial imagery, property information, planning, land use, addressing, infrastructure, assets. And with all of this data in one place, you can find information very fast. The web map gives you the ability to search by various attributes, addresses, parcels, location. You can click on features to get additional details as to that asset. So in the window that's a little hard to see, we're looking at the parcel information for the Town of Hannah office. If you squint really hard, you can see information such as zoning, the lock plan area, as an example of kind of what you can have available in the web map.
That is good.
That's much better.
Yeah.
Thank you. So with all this information, you can quickly compare different data sets side by side. And then again, you can kind of quickly visualize impacts and context. So how a development relates to zoning or land use, where infrastructure exists relative to potential growth areas. And with the aerial imagery, you can compare historical versus current conditions as well. So within the web map, it's not just a whole bunch of data for people to view. You also have tools available to kind of help make analysis to get even more out of your data in there. So some of the basic tools available are such as the measuring tools, so measuring areas and distances. You can do markup and annotation, and then also custom map printing too. So if a user is in the web map and they go mark up, do some annotations or some notes, they can do a quick map printing and just kind of share that information as tailored to whatever the issue might be and share it with relevant parties. Another tool that members utilize is the auto dial and notification tool, which can be used to notify ratepayers within selected areas for various reasons, such as service interruptions or public notices. This window here just kind of highlights some of the tools in WebMap and then what they can be used for as an example. So here we have a user that's done a location search to find a specific road. They then did markup and annotation to illustrate that this road will be closed for a certain period of time, and then bookmark that location, and then they can print that and share as well. So, yeah. So one of the big pillars of the web map is the planning and land use side. So the planning and land use, as it gets updated, it does get updated to match in the web map as well. So in the web map, you have land use bylaws, zoning, planning maps, and they're all interactive. You can explore their regulations geographically within a municipality, kind of helps support consistent interpretation of your planning policies, and can be used to improve transparency for council members and the public as well. The next thing I do want to touch on is asset management and how the web map can help with it. So just really briefly, what is asset management? It is basically the asset life cycle. So everywhere from acquiring a new asset all the way through operation, maintenance, decommissioning, and then planning to replace that asset. So within the web map, you have the visibility into your municipal assets and infrastructure. You can understand where your investments are currently located in terms of asset management. This can help for better context for maintenance planning, capital planning, and funding discussions as well. And then as your data gets better, it can help improve confidence for long-term planning as well. Some of the tools available in WebMap that can help with asset management, you can create and edit data as your assets get replaced within the municipality. You can create and manage asset inspections within the WebMap, and you can begin adding imagery to the historic record as well. So begin with that historic record too.
Does everyone know what we mean by asset management? So you're particularly like your municipal infrastructure in terms of water, sanitary, hydrants, water valves, and how we're managing those over time. What are the conditions of them? How do we track them? Where are they? That's what the web map can be used for, is getting all of that data into one central location where we can see that municipal infrastructure. And then the web map has the ability to essentially put as much data into it as work towards more and more data being put into it. So understanding the condition of a certain segment of pipe, for example, understanding when the replacement might be needed for that. So,
yeah.
So,
no, thank you for that, Devin. Kind of the next slide does highlight a bit of this in terms of what can be tracked for asset management within the web map. So this example is a water hydrant, and the user is tracking the condition of the hydrant, the last inspection date, the install date, make and model. So all of this information can be very useful for doing that kind of those funding decisions to see if that hydrant kind of where it's at in its life cycle. And then say in 2027, we'll have to put away money to replace that hydrant. It can really help with those planning decisions. I also did want to cover quickly just in terms of some of the other GIS areas that we do cover at Palliser. So the big ones are planning and development, asset management, and web map, but we also touch on civic addressing as well, grants and research. We're always looking for internal improvements in how the web map can be improved, and also fee for service acquisition projects as well.
I believe Brent's already using some of that mapping as far as valving and,
Yeah, Braden is, yeah, he's a, what we'd almost refer to as a power user. He does it quite a bit,
Yeah.
and he does good work. Very good work.
So he's utilizing the GIS.
He is using it, and then I believe the public works staff,
Yeah.
it's not just Braden. Yeah, so they, yeah. They,
Excellent. That's, no, yeah, they were saying that they were using something on a tablet. I was assuming it was GIS.
yeah, that's exactly it, actually. There is that mobile side to it where you can access the web map from a tablet and the field. So staff such as Braden can go out, do the inspection, take a picture, whatever it might be. And then that data will sync to the web map, and then the data gets updated, so you have live up-to-date information. So
Asset management is really a growing push with the province and with the federal government as well. Especially across Canada, all of our infrastructure is aging. And even as the province starts putting out grant funding for infrastructure upgrades, they're starting to look more and more to see how municipalities are actually managing their assets and whether they're managing them appropriately. So asset management is, in my mind, really a key piece for municipalities, especially in this day and age where replacing a pipe and everything is rather expensive. So
well, thank you for that. The last point I did kind of want to touch on is just that regional collaboration aspect of the Palliser membership. So there's that regional approach, which can have a multitude of benefits. One of the big ones is cost efficiencies. So in 2025, we did put together an RFP for new aerial imagery for the web map. And then kind of going at service providers with 24 members looking for new aerial imageries, we were able to get kind of that bulk rate, and then cost savings are then shared across the membership. So one of the great benefits of the regional collaboration aspect. There's also the data consistency aspect, where members across the region just get the same up-to-date schemas. There's cross-boundary coordination as well, knowledge sharing, and this helps again with scalability and future growth too. And the last point I do want to touch on is kind of the web map is an evolving tool. It's designed to grow with your municipal needs. As those needs change, the web map can change as well. It can help with transparency and communication. And then there's also ongoing support and resources as well. So I'm going to highlight quickly where you can find some videos or some documentation, and then we also do training as well for whatever your needs might be. And then now that everyone's dying to get in the web map, this is where you can find it. If you log into the Palliser Regional website, there is that web map portion just in the middle at the, yeah, kind of where that one arrow is pointing at the bottom. There is a tab for web map and GIS where you can find additional resources and training videos that can help kind of navigate and do basic functions in the web map. And then I wonder, this third arrow up here is just highlighting within the web map a help button that can help, again, with additional documentation for navigating and utilizing the web map.
so hypothetically speaking, I'm putting up a fence. Could I go on there, get a top view of my property and then draw my fence in and submit it to Dave or yourselves, or?
that is a great question. And the answer is no, we shouldn't utilize the web map for that level of accuracy on permit applications. An aerial image is always going to be taken at some level of an angle. So the way they put that onto the GIS, so it may look like it's a straight down picture, but it can be angled at times. So those parcel lines are not going to line up exactly perfect, and there is a level of error.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be used, it's an excellent tool for a reference. So if you want to kind of highlight, this is where I want to put my fence, or kind of,
Yeah.
exactly, you want to share this with, say, the development officer. this is kind of where you want to go and get that first initial reference. If you're looking for questions such as parcel boundaries and stuff,
Property lines and stuff.
yeah, that the specificity in the web map isn't that high, and we do need to kind of direct you to a third party.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I just,
Yeah, we want to have it surveyed out.
It is a very good tool. I've been on it many times. and
Yeah.
Just, very good.
Yeah. I did leave my contact information just at the bottom there. If you have any questions or concerns at any point, feel free to reach out. And then, yeah, are there any questions in regards to GIS or the web map aspect?
hearing none, I'd say you aced it. Yeah, how do you buffalo this?
Nothing like planning and GIS presentation at 9 a.m. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
but
gonna
nothing
ask.
personal. GIS is way more informative or interesting.
Yeah, fair enough. Everyone loves their maps.
Visuals, man.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none. Thank Devin and Ian for coming out and doing their presentation this morning. Counselor Hunter, all in favor? Okay, thanks, guys. And yeah, we know how to get a hold of you, so
You guys, yeah, and yeah, I'm sure Tracy's gonna be in touch at some point here. Have you guys discussed the terms of reference for the MDP at council?
Not yet.
Okay. I think, yeah, Tracy's working on it.
perfect.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you wanted to download it. or-
Yeah.
Stick and then you guys can get a copy. And
Yeah, my sister is.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah, it's a cool thing. Yeah.
Technologies advancing. Does council have a login to the web map?
That was one of my questions, which I was gonna email you guys.
I so believe so.
Because we can. set that up.
Yes.
If you like.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely helpful for you guys, for sure.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah.
would be a.
Okay.
I'll fire you an email regarding this.
Okay,
Thanks, I
sounds good.
appreciate it. Very informative.
Hey, Martha, your time to shine.
Yeah.
Come on.
This is why we go up.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we're waiting for you.
I must feel like a.
Okay, so we're gonna do a quick leg stretch, then move along, so we'll recess for 3-4 minutes.
Race to the marshal, I'm gonna have to leave anyways, I gotta go to the bus.
See, I got your road a little smoother again. Sorry?
Lori, are we muted for recess?
Oh, I know. I just take out the picks and smooth it out. That's what happens when you get salt out.
Okay, we'll come out of recess. Counselor Kroll has left us to go and perform his local loop duties. Again, public presentations, final offer. None. Okay. CEO Matthew.
Yeah, through the chair to council, had a few meetings over the last couple of weeks. I did the ICS 200 again. I'd done it a few years ago, but I thought it would be good to refresh that. We've met with a couple of strategic planning consultants, so hopefully next week we'll make a decision on which one of them we bring in for council. And they're both looking at probably a 2-day session in April that we would need you for to go through that process. Both do it slightly different, but we'll figure out which one's the best. Winona and I met with BMO, who are our current people who look after our investments. So we'll probably bring something to the next council meeting if you decide that you want to stick with BMO or try the other people. The Echo land is on Realtor now, so it is up for sale. We decided for 2 weeks to list it for tenders, just to see what kind of price that we could get for that. So we'll try that for 2 weeks. That's the deadline, and then we'll figure out our next steps from
Did
there.
we reach out to the gentleman that was interested in it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's been in on it all along. Yeah, and we had a meeting, senior staff had a meeting the other day regarding our website and meeting management software, and they also have a mapping tool that's very similar to what Palliser did, so they show us all those things that they can do. So we'll continue to talk about that and see what, I think there's some positive things, like with meeting management, it would save Winona a lot of time, and maybe make some improvements to the website so that we're not patching things all the time. That's everything. If you have any questions. Yeah.
Business items, council remuneration, and then.
So again, through the chair to council, was asked to look into this to compare what other councils, what kind of remuneration they get and their expenses. So what I did is I looked at towns roughly our same size in population. I looked at 5 towns just slightly below us and 5 towns slightly above us to see what their payments were and what kind of models they use. So a lot of them go by the provincial rates. So they in their policies, they have that they will match that provincial rate. Some are slightly different, some just go off and do their own. So you can see the differences in breakfast, lunch, dinner, and mileage. I also looked over your overall remuneration, and when we compared your remuneration for being a councillor, you're well below the average, considerably below. I don't know that's seen as being thrifty and you're not in it for the money, but it also applies for future people who, it's a demanding role, right? So it may put people off running for council if we're below that. But yeah, we'll just bring this for you to look over before we draft a new policy. If you wanted to go with the provincial, and the new policy could say that we, instead of keep updating it every few years, it would say that we're going to match provincial. So whenever the provincial standards change, we would change along with it. There was talk about, like, no council likes to vote themselves an increase in pay, but you could index your pay to, inflation rates as well, so that it's just automatic that it would adjust for that. But yeah, this is just brought to you for your feedback and your thoughts, how you would like administration to proceed.
So does that come in for next meeting?
Yeah, if you give me your feedback on what you want, I can try to get that on the next council agenda for you to make a decision.
So I look at it, for we are well below, you know, it's not that we have to meet it, but we should make an increase.
I think going by the government benchmarks makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Personally.
In one of our previous meetings that we had, or was on discussion, they were talking about the mileage, for example. I mean, when we're using our own personal vehicles, wear and tear insurance, doing it all out there, 57 cents still sounds really low. At least I know what I bill out when I'm doing my mileage up at the shop, and that's really low comparative to it. And I'm not saying it's the same thing on that. Is that the average from the province, or was that an average from the other municipalities?
That's the provincial rate.
That wasn't provincial rate.
Yeah.
A number was bandied around before. Was that through, what, does anybody remember what an initial discussion? When we were talking about it, they were talking about it was another government rate, but it was another department.
Was it the federal, right? Because
Maybe that's what it was when we were
because
talking about
Revenue
it.
Canada has a federal rate for each province in
Yeah.
terms of mileage and subsistence.
Yeah, that
costs.
maybe that's the number that I think. you're right.
I know the per diems, and I'll speak on behalf of myself. When I go to a meeting, it costs me money to go to a meeting, because I have to hire staff to cover for myself. I'm not in it for the money. But I know it costs me money to be here, and, that's just for myself. Like I said, I'll go with the flow. And I knew what it was when I got into it. This is my second kick at the can, but like I said, when it starts to cost you money to go to meetings, then, our level of a commitment is pretty good, so that's just my feeling. Mileage, Hockey Alberta is still 50% or 50 cents a kilometer. A couple of the other communities I sit on are at 75 cents a kilometer, which I think is excessively high. But yeah, if we follow the provincial rate, then I mean, then we're not voting ourselves a rate increase, we're just following somebody else's lead.
Yeah.
And again, nobody should do this for nothing. I'm not saying you gotta get rich doing it, but you shouldn't go backwards to do it. With the meal rates, if you exceed the base rate that we are using now, you just have to bring a receipt back. Kind of a pain in the butt, but it's there, so. I think, Matthew, look into it a little more. I know I've done some checking, with some of the neighboring communities and some of the other centers, and, we're at the bottom end of the scale for most of them. So, and again, I'm not saying we need a rate increase, I'm just, yeah.
Matthew, when you did have a look at other municipalities, did you find a typical consensus that they were utilizing the Alberta government rate?
Mostly for breakfast and mileage, it's your remuneration that was different, and how they set that up is different. They all have different ways of doing it. Yeah, like per hour or like a flat fee, and I think where we stood out above them all was our IT allowance was higher than what other places have. But other than your basic remuneration was no matter what formula these other places use, we were well below.
Right. The nice thing about using just the Alberta benchmark is, like you said, we won't have to revisit it every year.
Yeah.
So I do like that.
Yeah, that's what Angie sort of texted me, you know, to go the provincial route. And I look at it, I sit on 4 other boards, and that's pretty well what we're getting paid. Is like, we don't set it anymore. It's whatever the government's paying, that's what we.
It's my understanding the government reviews and updates their rates on a per annum basis. Is that correct?
I'm not sure how often they do that, but like the policies that I
The
read.
federal government.
Oh,
I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But you don't know Alberta.
Not sure, no, but what the policies say, they don't name numbers, they just said that they will match that provincial. Right, so that way we don't have to come in and say it's changed, so we're gonna change this policy and update it, it's just tied to whatever the province pays.
Well, certainly for expediency's sake, that would make more sense.
Yeah, well, for sure.
Yeah.
Simplistic, and is there anything from the provincial government, like a per diem or a per, anything like that, Matthew? Have you seen?
I don't remember seeing that, but
Okay.
I was more looking at this kind of stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We usually have a max. And I certainly would suggest that.
Oh, no, I 100%, yeah. Like I said, I'm not in it for the money, but I don't wanna go
Yeah.
backwards to do it, so.
So is council's thought that the provincial rates are good, and
That's my
would you
feeling.
like me to add in looking at your per diems, or just tie per diems increase to inflation?
I think we can do the meals and mileage as per the government benchmarks, or put it in that. And I'd like to look at what the other towns are as far as honorariums, and again, we don't have to be the top, but I don't feel we need to be the bottom either, so. And that's something we can bring forward later, so. Unfortunately, it won't be for this year, because we got a budget done.
Yeah.
So next info meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, bring this back.
I just have one question, Matthew, if I could. You indicated an updated policy would include a provision on council to pause, like the consumer price
Yeah.
indexing adjustments during periods of financial constraint. Now, would we not have to clarify in more detail, more specificity with regard to how much that constraint looks like? Because that's kind of wide open.
What I had read is that, you know, like, the ones who were tied to it, like water line broke and we had to spend excessive amounts of money on that. You know, council might decide, well, we'll not take a raise this year, right? We'll just pause. That was the idea behind that, just to, you know, show that we're trying to keep costs down,
Right.
that kind of thing. So that would just come to council to make that.
So there's still some discretionary.
Yeah,
things.
just
It would be more discretionary statement rather than any kind of specificity to it.
Yeah,
Okay. So allow the flexibility then.
I hate
Yeah.
discretion.
Pardon?
I hate discretion. I like
Well-
black and white.
Well, and that's not black and white.
No, it's not,
Yeah.
that's.
And I see where Matthew's going with it now, but, yeah, I'm just, you know, if the public were to ask us, well, what dollars are you looking at? You know, is it a dollar value or is it
Yeah.
an emergency expenditure, that kind of thing? So maybe we could,
obviously it wouldn't make a major impact on the budget, like if you're set to go up like 3% for council
Yeah.
honorariums, but it's more of a symbolic thing than a truly financial thing.
Okay. Motion to accept Matthew's presentation for information, Counselor Farrell, all in favor? Carried. Council procedural bylaw 10/15/2021.
So to council, and this slightly came up with a procedural bylaw when the policy were talking, but there's a couple of things where I think we use terms that before I came here, I had never heard before, and I think like, especially when you meet with other councillors and other staff from other places and you mention some of the terms we talk about here, they'll have no idea what we're talking about. But I had never heard of a bird before I came here. Or like we have this meeting's an info session, but every other municipality will call it a committee of the whole. So, so just thought we should be more consistent with other municipalities on our terminology. So those were a couple of basic things. I also think that, you know, as you go through meetings, you'll know that you're making motion after motion after motion over basic things where we could easily introduce a consent agenda so that we can approve all those things that don't need a discussion. So we're making a motion for every financial item that Winona brings, you know, and the mayor has to read those every time. So we would just have one. We would group things together that don't need that discussion. You know, and it says that they can be pulled out if there's something that was placed in consent agenda that you wanted to pull out of that, it can be pulled out.
Is just one person asked for it, then it comes out, or does it actually have to?
One person would make it and then council would have to approve that comes
so
out.
it'd be
Yeah,
as per the
it would have-
procedural
yeah.
bylaw.
So so if you saw something in consent agenda, you thought, oh, I don't want to just approve that as a group. You say, I'd like to have that pulled, council will vote on it, it will get pulled if they all agree. So it would save time and repetitiveness, to have consent agenda.
I'm just getting trained.
So those were some of the changes, like to change his name from info session to committee of the whole, introduce consent agenda. But also while we're here, if council had any other suggestions, ideas on things that could be changed in the procedural bylaw. I think the old one is attached as well.
With public presentations, is there any parameters, guidelines as to what we should listen to or have to listen to?
Say in a council meeting versus say in.
No, like we have a spot on our agenda for a public presentation, which is 5 minutes in length, and most presentations are very value add. There's some that are tangents, I'll call it. I don't see, and I've looked through it myself a couple of different times, I don't see we have anything to, I guess that's a discretion again, so.
I think most places are open to it. Like you can go on YouTube and you can see the ridiculous videos of people.
Oh, yes.
So
Yeah.
I think even if it's a tangent, they only have 5 minutes, so I mean, it's best we hear them.
Well, I guess where I'm looking at it, for example, the city of Calgary, if they have, when they do have a public presentation, but they don't have, I mean, they have a population of almost 2 million people.
Yeah.
And they're not dealing with 200 public presentations every meeting they have, like they're dealing with 1 or 2.
No one's walking up.
So I'm curious as to what criteria that they're doing. I've been following, Living the Bear on TikTok, actually. He's pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
So, no, we can continue where we are. It hasn't been an issue in recent times, so we can continue where we are. As far as procedural changes, again, I'm all about learning so I can learn new tricks. I will screw up, and then nobody won't have to remind me only 4 or 5 times that I've missed something.
When I first joined council, I found some confusion with respect to delegations and presentations, and what was the distinct purpose between the two. And I didn't find that in the procedure.
Delegation brings a thought out.
A group.
Group, and they actually have for example, the delegation from the Fox Lake group with an agenda in place, and so we have a chance to see and understand what it is. And they have to be on the agenda for it to be a delegation, where a public presentation can show up and do a public presentation.
If time permits.
Well, they're getting the agenda, so, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's.
Yeah.
I believe we have a 15-minute time
Delegation.
limit for a public presentation,
Right.
and that's total. So if there was 5 people that wanted to speak, the mayor would say,
You got
just
5 minutes each.
understanding that there's only 15 minutes for this.
Yeah.
So,
And we have gone over that time frame. What I try to do is I try to let them speak. I usually give them, at the 5-minute mark. If it's a quality presentation, I do use some leniency. But if it seems to be a ramble, at the 2-minute mark, I'll say, just a reminder, you got 2 minutes left. Can you wrap it up, please? So that's something I have been trying to use as much as possible. And I don't know, I find you're better off to use some discretion than to try and squash it like a bug, because pretty soon you end up with, well, they don't want to let us talk. So I have used it a bit, and I do look to you guys if it's something you feel is getting out of hand. Trust me, I read the crowd as well as I can, and I will utilize you as much as I can. So Okay. Moving on. Who's this Michelle lady?
Did we do a motion?
Motion to, yes, sorry. Did we do can we have a motion to move forward with the amendment of bylaw 10-15-2021? Counselor Rohrbach, all in favor? Carried. Sorry, Holly.
Thank you.
Michelle?
Hi, everybody. Matthew just asked if I could join today to give a little bit of an update about a pilot project we're going to implement that came from a council suggestion. So I'm going to start by passing over to Councilor Rohrbach if she wants to talk a little bit about how we got here.
All right, I just typed up a little blurb here so I could remember my points. So today I'm bringing forward the Period Positive Project, an initiative rooted in dignity, equity, and common sense. For many who menstruate, access to basic menstrual products isn't guaranteed. In our public facilities, we already provide necessities like toilet paper, soap, and paper towels because they're essential to daily life. Menstrual products serve the same purpose. They're not a luxury, and people shouldn't have to pay for them any more than they pay for toilet paper in our facilities. When I noticed that our public washrooms still rely on coin-operated machines for pads and tampons, I researched alternatives and found a successful model in Calgary. From there, I connected with the mayor, who directed me to work with our community services coordinator, Michelle, to explore how this could be implemented in Hannah. This initiative isn't about making a statement, it's about removing a barrier. Providing access allows people to fully participate in community life, which benefits everyone. The Period Positive Project is a small change with a meaningful impact, and it reflects dignity, inclusion, and fairness to our residents. So I'm proud to bring this forward, and now I'll pass it over to Michelle to outline.
So yeah, that was kind of the background of what Erica saw as a need and spoke with the mayor and came to my desk. So we did a little bit of research on other communities that offer similar programs. It's becoming a fairly widespread social programming initiative, like you said, same as we have paper towel and toilet paper in a washroom. Why don't we have these products? So we did some work with our parks crew that deals with all of our facilities to understand what we currently have where. And so looking at that, we do have a few coin-operated machines that you would see in the ladies' rooms in Centennial Place and in the community center. So we're going to look to remove the coin-operated feature from that, understanding in 2026 how many of us have a quarter in our pocket, should we require one. And then looking at some of our other facilities on where we would add machines. So working with Brent on that, looking at the pool and the arena main washrooms as prime places. So in some of our facilities where we have auxiliary washrooms, we may just do signage in those washrooms that would direct you to the main washroom for that. We're going to work with Lori's team, with her and Katie, about how we then have some posters in the washroom that let you know that these products are there and free of use. We are going to kind of limit our initial pilot to our facilities that are staffed, so stuff like the arena and the pool, or where we have rentals, where we know who's in and out of the facility, like say the community center. We're not going to target some of our other facilities, like say the bathrooms at the Ball Diamonds, that some community stakeholders unlocks. We don't always have accountability who's been in. Brent had some infrastructure concerns about, should somebody unfortunately decide that they want to flush all of said products and make a mess, we could have those sorts of issues to clean up. So we're going to kind of stagger how we roll this out with facilities where we have a little bit more line of sight. Possible that we could expand in the future, but just want to kind of take that slowly so that we didn't create a monster for ourselves. We also reached out to some community partners, so outside of town-specific facilities. Obviously, you guys are aware of our partnership with the library and how that facility works. So that seemed like a prime public facility to target as well. And then with Lynx over in the provincial building, they don't have control of the washrooms because they belong to the GOA and the broader provincial building side, but they were interested in having the products in their actual office available for those who needed them, in partnership with what they do with the community fridge and pantry there. They occasionally get products already from the food bank. They get a one-off donation. They sometimes partner with Lynx to give out those products, but that's inconsistent. So if we were going to bulk order supplies, it seemed like it would be a great cost sharing from an FCSS perspective to look at those other organizations that deliver services in our community. So where we're at now is just doing that bulk ordering of supplies. In reviewing what that looks like for costs, it seemed that it would fit in our budget that we already have that covers things like the paper towel and the soap and those sorts of things to get us started. So going to do an initial order of 1,000 tampons and 1,000 pads, and then see how long that takes us to go through, because we really don't know what uptake will look like now that we're offering them in more facilities for free. So we'll have a better idea kind of after this initial pilot of if that's an added expense that needs to change that budget line item in future years. Or I know Erica and I discussed some places have like a corporate sponsor that comes on board that's part of the program like that wants to brand that they're the sponsor for that sort of a program. So there'd be options for council moving forward on what that looks like. Do you guys have questions?
I should also add that in Calgary, their model, you can actually go online and you can find all the facilities in Calgary that do offer this. So obviously they're like homelessness is a little more of an issue than it is here, but if somebody doesn't have those products and they need them and they can, there are also signs on their machines that give indications as to where you can get these. It's not about, supplying everybody with like a monthly, amount of feminine hygiene products. It's just more if you're in one of our facilities and that does happen and you need it, you don't have to try to find a quarter, you can just go get one. And that is where I was coming from on this.
I like the idea, but it's like, all of a sudden, one person comes in, takes it all, then, it's just like.
So Michelle and I did discuss this. From a female perspective, like you have to understand that these pads and tampons, like they're not gonna be top of the line. Most of us have preferences for what we use. This is more for an emergency situation. And we kind of agreed that if somebody went to a facility and took 20 tampons home, they probably really need them.
Really?
Because most of us don't prefer to use the ones in those facilities, but at least they're there if people need them.
Yeah, that's what I look at, it's just one of these things that's.
It's no different than our
It's-
dog food bags.
Yeah.
I watch people stand there and peel up 25
Yeah.
food bags.
Well, yeah, or
That means you're picking
Yeah.
up after your pet.
Yeah, and if that means they're cleaning up after their dogs, so
Which
be
is
it.
good, that's the whole thing, it's,
And we'll have a better
you'll
idea.
have to have somebody there just to keep an eye on.
Well, they are. We're only doing it in our manned facilities that will be monitored.
And so the same staff that are already going into a facility, whether it's a caretaker or a staff member, depending
Yeah,
on the facility,
just-
that already checks the soap, the paper towel, all those things. This is just gonna be one thing, they would open the dispenser, check that we don't need to resupply. Obviously, if we suddenly had a run on where the machines were being emptied over and over and over again, maybe we would need to do some follow-up questions on what's happening in that facility. But I think, great point that if the need is there, we want people to access things with dignity while they're in our facilities. And so just smart social programming, and when you buy in bulk, it's relatively affordable.
And we're just rolling it out, like, we're gonna see how it
It's
goes. If it
pilot.
becomes an issue, then we'll
Yeah.
address it. We're really hoping the community will just see the value in this and not abuse it, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, I think we have to give it a chance. to
Absolutely.
fail.
Absolutely.
Give it a chance.
Yeah.
When Erica came
Excellent
to me
idea.
with this, I don't know if she was expecting the response that she got, but I said, yes, most certainly, kind of like.
Well, I said, I have a crazy idea, and you said, hit me with
Yeah.
it. So I did, and you said, okay, now go talk to Michelle.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I just needed to know where to direct her to, basically, and I mean, yeah, I think it's a great idea, and again, I think it's something that we can put in place, and if it fails, we try.
Yeah.
Well, if
Yeah.
it's being abused, to address it as it
Accordingly.
happens.
Yes, and
But we
that's,
can't hypothetically say we
Yes.
can't do this because it might, someone might.
Oh,
do
no.
this.
Because realistically, someone could go in and take all the toilet paper and soap if they
Oh,
wanted to as
yeah.
well, so.
Exactly.
yes, I think we gotta build our social policies and our facilities about the common good and
Yeah.
about, having a level of expectation for people to rise to, not assuming the worst of everybody, because we'd never have a social program or a recreation facility if we had to assume the worst thing would happen at all of them. So yeah, I think we're going to assume that most people will be responsible and respectful of them, and if we have an issue, we will deal with that on a one-off
And
basis.
so appreciative.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I need to give Michelle like a ton of credit for this because I did come up with it, but Michelle has done the legwork. She has done all the research and she's basically taken my vision and like made it happen. So I give her all the credit.
Thank you. So yeah, we're in the process now of ordering the machines, just kind of figuring out the logistics of what fits in each space. We're gonna go with the big wall mount if something countertop works in some of the facilities. We're just sorting out those kind of day-to-day operations of how you clean around things and keep things clean and dry and all the good things.
yeah.
And then ordering the product in. So you'll probably see rollout February or March, depending on how fast that stuff comes in and when the guys have time to do those installations. And then, like I said, working with Lori and Katie on getting the signage up around that this is an initiative that the town of Hannah is taking on and supporting, so people are aware that it's in our facilities for their use. And then, yeah, I guess just on a more broad level, obviously you guys get told as counselors, you're not in individual directing of day-to-day operations. However, it's going to take a long time for me to come to different council meetings and tell you all the little things that my job touches. So if you have something like this, where you've seen something in another facility or something catches your eye, and you wonder, do we do that directly as a social program here? Do we partner with someone who takes care of that? Is this something we could do? I'm very open to like hearing a question out. It might not be something we can always action as quickly as this, depending on obviously budget constraints and other things. It might be something that comes back for a more official decision, but happy to at least provide that initial information. You all have my email, my cell number is on my cards and on my email signature. So yeah, feel free to reach out if there is a what about this type thing that you want to ask. Do we do that? Happy to at least have that initial conversation and figure out where we need to direct from there.
I've gotten pretty good at steering people.
Yeah, you are.
Delegation. Slouching my responsibilities. No, yeah, and like I said, Michelle's been awesome. There's certain things that she can do, and if she can't do, she will direct us in the direction we need to go, so. Utilize your user abusers, so,
It's a pilot, so
yeah.
it is out.
Okay. Anything, questions for Michelle?
Great job.
None? How's our CSB grant thing going?
Yeah, so the first round of deadlines is coming up right away on January 31st. We do have a few applications in so far, so we're starting to get those scanned in and reviewed and ready for the board to get. So the board will be meeting February the 12th is our CSB meeting. I think it's going to be a bit of a work in progress, knowing that we have that larger amount and that it's not prescribed how we break it down over the year, and knowing that we sent those letters to some of the facility users that previously just kind of had a standing agreement of how we waive facility fees for them. We may come back to you guys with some adjustments to the process as we see what those numbers look like, of what the true cost is of some of those things that, yeah, the town was supporting that, but we maybe didn't have a dollar number tagged to it. So we'll see how the first round goes, and then we'll probably have more feedback for you guys when we bring that recommendation for your approval. There may also be a rider with that saying, hey, if we all of a sudden had $25,000 worth of grant applications in cycle one, what's our ceiling? Is that something council would look at for a mid-year adjustment of that number of that 20,000? So I don't have a clear view yet of what the total ask is going to look like, but I think it'll be something we're going to have to continue talking about.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit, I wasn't aware that we were going to go to some of the users that have, for example, the farmer's market, the auxiliary, the, who else is there that falls under that? Minor hockey would fall under that if they're hosting a provincial tournament.
So the provincial grant is separate. So we still have, and maybe not all councillors are aware of that, we do have a provincial hosting grant where you can apply. So you have to be hosting something provincial or national level. So it's not just your regular run-of-the-mill tournament. It has to be at one of those levels. And then there's a gift in kind facility grant with that you can come to us with, and that we can help you on your bill for those. Help groups want to host those sorts of things in our community, right? But yes, anything else that was council's direction when we amended the community services board grant process was that you guys didn't want those one-off asks, and you didn't want the facility discounts to just kind of be haphazard, I guess. We wanted to bring them under one house and truly understand them. So my communication to any groups that have asked about that is that this isn't that we're looking to not support them at this point. I think the direction from council was still that, you know, you want to see most things have support, but that we wanted to get it under one house with a consistent policy for everybody so that it's upfront and everyone knows how do you get a discount, what's the process, what's the timelines, and that at the end of the day, the town has a number of what you've supported in the community. So we'll see if 20,000 is enough or if that's something you guys adjust. But.
Cool. Questions, concerns? None?
Mr. Mayor, will you be reaching out to the Health Foundation from the presentation today?
So that was, Matthew and I were having a bit of a side chat on this. And so we had a presentation come to CSB last time around that was also health focused. Mm-hmm. And the feeling of the Community Services Board when we reviewed our terms and references was, this isn't a facility discount of ours. This isn't recreation, this isn't culture, that being an education or career focused thing, it doesn't technically fall under the CSB mandate right now. And so that's where we would need direction of council if we wanted things like a request for that lab, the $10,000 that they were looking like for that medical program. If you want that to be included in what CSB does, then we would need to kind of amend what the framework looks like to consider something like that. Or you guys need to figure out that that's a separate process you want to look at apart from how we do CSB.
Well, I don't think we can expect you to spend $10,000 out of your
Well, yeah, you're, I
Yeah.
probably have to use some bonus money if I want that one to come
She's
to
not-
us.
I think for something like that, Michelle, I think we could probably deal with that at the council level. As I indicated, our budget is in place, so, and you're not looking for the money till 27, so.
You could have a next year budget
Yeah.
discussion
And then
about
you can
that.
commitment.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess that would just be for you guys to think about as those sorts of requests
But
come
I
out.
think we can give them a verbal intent.
Yeah.
Would that work, Matthew?
Yeah, you just have to make sure it gets on the budget.
Yeah.
But
No,
no,
I'm
make
just
a
saying,
note
we
of
should-
that.
we should reply to
Yeah.
them that it is a budget item
Yeah.
for us. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
And you can do that right away, Matthew?
No, I need council direction, and you can give me.
Well,
council-
February 18th.
The next meeting, we can have that.
So round table, I'll kick it off. I went to Henry Kruger, or not, sorry, Henry Kruger, Red Deer River Municipal Users Group. And, we had a 70% turnover in membership. Both of our chairs failed reelection. One by choice, one not by choice. Our deputies, same scenario, all failed. So I was approached to chair from a rural standpoint, and I kind of graciously tried to bow my way out of it, but I'm one of the senior guys from rural. So I am the rural chair for Red Deer River Municipal Users Group. I did talk to the chair of the Red Deer River Watershed Alliance. They're going to allow me to attend their spring meeting at no cost, just come and see what it's about. And he's gonna get us some more information. On that note, would we be interested in Rudy, who's our Red Deer River Municipal Users Group hired a gun to come and do a presentation? We also had another presentation from, what is it called? Smart Water. So basically, they break down where the water is being used, how it's being used, the shortage of water, potential shortage of water, how we can better manage water, in an information session. I think it would be good, just to, I go to the meeting and I hate to say it, I've been to for 4 years now, so you kind of gets but every once in a while I peek something. And so it's more of a water management, and I think it'd be a great presentation for the group, especially on an information session. So I'll reach out to Rudy with our dates, and then I'll have him reach out to Matthew to coordinate something, and we'll see if we can get Smart Water Rudy to come in for a presentation. I think it'd be very, very beneficial.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, that's all I got going on. I stepped into something I really didn't need to. Vern? Counselor Thurl, sorry.
Oh, so I did, meetings with Marigold, last, weekend, and, it was a lengthy, procedure. They're getting their priorities set up for the next 5 years, so there's lots of questions about financing and where some of the new projects are coming from, but looks like they're getting their ducks in a row. We have an AGM in April at Strathmore, and it's not a virtual one. Everybody has to attend. There's about 30 to 40 people meeting, so no, it was an eventful time. I knew all the people from the special areas board that sits on the Marigold system, so.
So, Vern, with Marigold, I think we need to do a better job of promoting what Marigold is. Actually, my employee was in Oyen with a few hours to kill and wasn't aware that she could sign a book out in Oyen and return it in Hannah.
Yeah.
So I think we need to do a better job of informing our public of what Marigold is. Not picking on you, I just, she brought it to my attention, there was a book that they found in Oyen while they were killing time. And I said, well, did you sign it out? Well, I didn't want to take it back to Oyen. No, with the Marigold system, you can bring it back to Hannah. And I didn't know nothing about it, so,
Would it be helpful for the library to put out some sort of, like FYI type?
yeah.
For Jen to do a post and.
Well, yeah,
put
I
on
think
our
if we
website?
can do and again, is it gonna help maybe a few, and if it
No,
reaches
but
out to
that's
a
good.
few, then
Well,
that's
it is-
perfect.
Because that's what we were discussing
That's exactly.
at a meeting on Monday with the library. And because I didn't know that, like we said, they got membership cards.
Mhm.
But Marigold, they have a system, you could do it all online.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, you can
and
do everything online.
Yeah, we do
I
ours.
think they said there's only 900 and some people across Marigold that does it online. But you look at the age reference, they said the 900 and some, or 99% computer users, where one of the seniors, they like to have the card.
I'll get Jen to
Yeah.
make a post with some info for the community.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that,
Yeah.
I mean, I know what it is,
Yeah.
but obviously we need to get it out to more people so that we can better utilize. We're paying for the service, we
No,
need
I
to
agree.
utilize it, right?
Yeah, we'll make sure.
And the other thing that they're looking at is the e-readers, everything that with e-readers is going down. More people are doing everything.
Yeah.
Through computers, but not a lot of e-readers, it's dropped by half. Since
Easy. We're
after,
gonna go way bye-bye.
yeah, since COVID left, e-readers have left.
Yeah.
So. No, I'm learning a lot about books and everything else.
Learn how to read.
Yeah, one guy asked, are you a book burner? I said, it just depends.
Depends on which one.
Roger?
Names are starting to come on in with the Walk-A, which is great. So we're gonna be able to, I'm gonna just make some contact with people that in town that have done it. Have done the exchange or have been hosts to try to get some background on that. Michelle was very helpful, also getting some information over to me as well too. So was Matthew, so I thank you for that. Just question, out there. I asked Matthew the question about the house that was demolished. Is it okay if I ask that question here in this thing? Sure. I'm just curious. So we had the house demolished. It goes, the bill gets paid by the owners of the property, right? So it gets assessed on taxes. Is that how it works?
Just put onto their tax bill.
Okay. And do we have any idea if here again, we put it on the tax bill, but if they didn't pay it at the front, what's the chance of them paying at the end?
Slow it down.
Something, I guess that's what I was assuming. But, okay. I just wanted to find out that procedure out there. It's a new one for me and I would just rather know, because I have been asked who paid that by actually 2 or 3 people.
Well, for right now, we pay.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's what I was
The town
assuming
had to
that's
pay
what it
for
was.
And it'll go back onto their taxes.
Yeah.
And
2 to 3 year wait.
2 to 3 year
Yeah.
wait, and then we'll end up with the property.
So in other words,
And we'll probably end up with a property worth $25,000 and hopefully sell it for that. Should it sell for more than what the cleanup cost of the back taxes, we have to give the owners
yes.
the opportunity to apply for that money back. If it sells for less, then it's free and clear. Well, not free and clear, but yeah.
We run it off, yeah.
I think it's just great that it's gone.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
Counselor Carr.
Last Wednesday, I attended a board of directors for the Palliser Regional Planning Commission, or services rather. And so it was our first meeting, so it was an organizational meeting. We have a new chairman and a new vice chair. The chair is from Trochu, the vice chair is from Delia. And again, it was just essentially an organizational meeting at that point. We will meet again in March. It's
How's the
very
learning curve?
active. Sorry?
How's the learning curve?
I've been working hard. Thank you.
It's a very interesting, it's
Thank you
whenever you
very
get
much.
into that one, so I,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like it's a daily process literally to learn about Palliser. Because for me anyway. Yeah, it's a big job, but it's interesting. And just shout out to Lynx, again, they are having their 50th anniversary. And just for council to be aware of the fact that there's gonna be a big celebration in April. And a number of activities are underway to organize that event. And hopefully, we get a lot of support from Lynx in that regard.
Very valuable part of our community.
It's essential.
Could not do my job
Really
without
has
them.
become
Yeah.
essential part of it. They provide so much social programs that the government.
One of my favorite partners.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do, well, yeah, if you're not a partner, it exists.
Councilor Burbine.
I don't have much. The Chamber of Commerce has their job fair on Friday at the community center, 10 to 3. Last time I checked, I think we had about 18 vendors are coming up for that. Had a meeting with the medical corps. We're looking at attracting and retaining a new doctor, hopefully. And I think that I might be on another board now too. I think I'm on the attraction and retention committee now. No, I mean, like, they asked me and I
Yeah.
said, okay, so, no, it's exciting. Hopefully, we'll get that going, and, yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Big Country Waste, I can speak a little bit because they're one of my customers. Their requisition has gone up, would I say significantly? No?
Yeah.
Significantly,
This year and next year.
yeah. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of scrambling with our budget. There's, yeah, so sorry to give you the bad news, but
As well as the.
Yeah. Waste.
but on a positive note, we're in a lot better shape than Gibbons.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
Well, I only just got started.
Okay, so next on our agenda is the facility tour at the public workshop.
I recommend you take this with you, just to save time so we don't go over here.
Yeah.
And we can get over there, and if you have questions for Brent on this, that might save us some time, because they're anticipating us and waiting there eagerly for us.
I was told that it's all polished and ready
Wes told me if we were polite guests,
When?
we bring donuts.
Is there a date?
today.
Today?
Yeah, we're doing now.
Oh.
Yes, there is coffee and donuts.
But I-
I didn't see. Yeah.
I gotta get back to work. I'll leave it for.
I'll go to be polite, but
We are just going to adjourn right now. Motion for adjourn, or sorry, I adjourn, there's no motion. Thanks, everybody. See you over at Public Works in 10 15.